My sister's wedding wasn't just a spectacle. It was a public execution of our relationship, where I was the main target. But what she didn't know was that her cruel toast that night ignited a quiet fire in me, a fire that would eventually burn down her perfect, curated world. My name is Eli. I'm 28, and I'm the oldest of three. Growing up, I was basically the family's resident peacekeeper. I was the quiet one, the helper, always mediating dinner table arguments, taking the fall for things I didn't break, and making myself invisible when the chaos got too much for my parents. My younger sister, Haley, who's 2 years my junior, was the complete opposite. Loud, dramatic, emotionally explosive. Seriously, breathe the wrong way around her, and she'd declare it a federal incident. Our baby brother, Nate, usually kept to himself and tried to play peacemaker too, but he quickly mastered the art of vanishing when things got tense. Me, I stayed. I always stayed. So, when Haley got engaged, it was no surprise that she turned the whole thing into a massive production. We're talking 6 different engagement announcements, each tailored for a specific social media platform. There was a surprise proposal with a hired photographer and an Instagram countdown that started 240 days before the wedding. She had mood boards for the color palette and cried when Mom gently suggested the florals might be a tad over budget. It was her Broadway show, and the rest of us were just expected to applaud. Haley and I hadn't been close in years, to be honest. Things really soured after college. She moved back home for a bit and resented me for escaping the nest. I genuinely tried to help her find a job, but every suggestion was either too boring or below her. Eventually, she landed a marketing gig through her fiancé's connections. Suddenly, I was the loser with no style and a weird apartment. Whatever, I'll let slide. Again, that's just who she was. People like Haley don't change. They just find new audiences to perform for. Then the invitation came, suspiciously late. I only found out she'd finalized the guest list when my mom asked what I was planning to wear. I hadn't received anything. When I finally texted Haley, her response was a breezy, "Oops, thought I already sent yours." The invite arrived 2 days later. A generic printout, no RSVP card, just a QR code. My name wasn't even spelled correctly. I should have known something was deeply wrong when I found myself seated at table 9. You know the one. The leftovers table. Random coworkers, great aunts nobody's seen in decades, plus ones of plus ones. Meanwhile, our cousin Danielle, who Haley used to call a discount Kardashian, was at the family table, complete with a nameplate and a personalized favor. The subtle digs were adding up, but nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the main event. The real kicker came during the reception. You know how at most weddings, there's that one emotional speech? The heartfelt toast from the maid of honor, or best man. Haley decided to deliver her own. She took the mic after dinner, glass in hand, standing beside her new husband under the fairy lights. "I just want to thank everyone for being here," she began, all choked up. "Some of you traveled so far, and I really feel the love tonight." Then she laughed nervously, glancing at Mom, who was already giving her that tight-lipped warning look. You know the one that says stop, right? Now. But Haley, of course, ignored it. "But I have to be honest," she continued, looking straight at me. "There were a few people I wasn't sure about inviting, but we felt bad, so here we are. Cheers." The room went dead silent. A few awkward chuckles. Someone coughed, and there I was, frozen, a fork halfway to my mouth, my stomach doing a complete freefall somewhere below the tablecloth. I didn't say anything. I just nodded a silent, "Wow, classy," escaping my lips. Then I slowly stood up, walked outside into the crisp evening air, and sat on a cold stone bench behind the venue. The music was muffled, and the biting cold felt oddly comforting. 15 minutes passed before I forced myself back inside. I didn't want to make a scene. I just wanted to survive the night. But then I saw Jonah, the photographer Haley had hired from out of state. He was packing up his gear near the cake table, muttering to himself, looking absolutely fed up. That's when the idea hit me. Not fully formed, but a flicker in the dark. See, I'd paid for Jonah as a wedding gift. Haley had whined endlessly about how her dream photographer was too expensive. Since I wasn't in the wedding party and couldn't think of anything else, I quietly covered the cost. No fanfare, no drama. I Venmo'd him the full amount weeks before. No one else knew. So I walked up to him and said, "Hey, just wondering, how many good shots did you get tonight?" He looked at me like I'd just handed him a thorny bush. "Not enough," he said, shaking his head. She micromanaged the entire thing, told me not to shoot certain angles, demanded I delete any photo where she didn't look like a Disney princess, even made me crop out her own bridesmaids from group shots. I'm done. I've never been treated like that in my life. I nodded slowly. "Would you believe me?" I asked. "If I told you I paid for this?" He blinked. "Seriously?" "Seriously," I confirmed. "And I think I'd like a refund." He paused, then pulled out his phone, opened his app, and within a minute, the money was on its way back to me. "I'll be honest," he said, "I was going to eat the loss and never deliver the files. This saves me the headache." I just smiled, thanked him, and walked away. I didn't tell anyone about the refund that night. Not Mom, not Nate, not even Haley. I went home, took off the jacket I'd ironed for an hour, and tried to quiet the humiliation echoing in my head. We felt bad, so here we are. The silence after that toast felt heavier than any insult. It wasn't just a petty jab. It was a profound statement. A message that I was nothing more than a prop in her perfect wedding, an obligation, not family. And maybe for the first time in my life, I realized I didn't owe her anything anymore. Not kindness, not silence, and certainly not peacekeeping. 2 weeks went by. Crickets from Haley. No thank you note, no follow-up, nothing. I figured she was too busy honeymooning or cultivating her Instagram aesthetic somewhere exotic. Then, out of the blue, my phone rang. It was one of those calls where the ringtone itself sounds angry. I answered, and her voice came through, sharp and breathless. "What the heck is wrong with Jonah?" she demanded. I played dumb. "What do you mean?" "He won't send the wedding photos," she shrieked. "He said something about a refund and copyright, and that I'm not entitled to the images." "That's weird," I said, trying to sound genuinely perplexed. "Did something happen?" She was absolutely fuming. "No, he's being petty. I want the raw files like now." There are no pictures from the ceremony. None. And the only decent shots anyone got were from Cousin Danielle's iPhone. My whole wedding is basically a blur of bad angles and blurry smiles. I'm going to sue him. I leaned back in my chair. "You might want to read the contract you didn't sign," I said calmly. It was under my name. A beat of stunned silence. "What?" she finally managed. "I paid him. Remember the photographer? That was my gift." Another pause. "But you, why would you refund it?" I shrugged, even though she couldn't see me. I guess I just didn't feel good about the investment. The silence on the other end stretched, tight as a rope. "You're joking." "I'm not. You're doing this to punish me." I let the accusation hang in the air for a moment. Then I replied, "I'm just taking your advice. I wasn't really invited, so I figured my gift wasn't either." She hung up. About 2 hours later, I got a text from my mom. "Call me when you're free. Your sister is hysterical." I stared at the screen for a full minute before putting the phone down and heading to the fridge. I wasn't ready. I needed to brace myself because when Haley cried to Mom, the entire family felt it. And by felt it, I mean we were expected to fix it. 10 minutes later, I called Mom back. She didn't even say hello. "What is going on between you and Haley?" I exhaled slowly, quietly through my nose. "Did she tell you about the toast?" Mom hesitated. She said you were being overly sensitive and took something she said out of context. My blood started to simmer. Out of context? She literally said she only invited me because she felt bad. She was nervous. Mom interjected. "People say things when they're emotional." "Mom, I cut in my voice tight. She said it into a microphone. During a toast. In front of 100 people. There was a pause. She knew I was right. But Mom's default was always to smooth things over, even if it meant steamrolling the truth. Well, she said, switching gears, why did you refund the photographer? That was spiteful, Eli. That's not like you. That hit a nerve. It was her tone, disappointed, bordering on scolding, like I'd set the house on fire because someone forgot her birthday. Spiteful would have been pulling the plug that night. I countered, my voice low. I waited 2 weeks. 2 weeks of silence. Not a thank you. Not even a single photo shared. She used me, Mom. I paid for that guy because she couldn't afford him. Then she turns around and treats me like a seat filler at her show. Mom sighed. Not because she disagreed, but because she was frantically trying to figure out how to keep the peace without admitting who started the war. I just think there's a better way to handle this. Maybe, I said, but she never cared about better ways when it came to me. We sat in silence for a few seconds before she changed the subject, just like always, when conflict made her uncomfortable. We hung up on a neutral note, but I knew she'd call Haley the second we ended the call. And I was right. By the next morning, my phone had exploded. Haley had posted a series of thinly veiled, inspirational quotes to her Instagram story. Stuff like, people will pretend to support you just so they can feel better tearing you down, and not everyone at your table is on your side. Then, it's okay to cut out the negative energy, even if they share your last name. Followed by a selfie with puffy, tear-filled eyes and a caption that simply read, some people really showed their true colors. Lesson learned. Then the family group chat started popping off. Cousin Danielle texted, is she talking about you? Nate sent a single eye emoji. Then Mom chimed in, please fix this. She's devastated. I ignored it. All of it. Until the next day, when I got an email. Subject line, request to resolve outstanding dispute, wedding photography. It was from her new husband, Jared. I barely knew him. We probably had 3 conversations in the 5 years they'd been together. I opened the email and leaned back, reading it twice to make sure I understood. He was asking, politely but with a lawyerly tone, if I would reconsider reversing the refund, citing emotional distress, lost memories, and unintended consequences. He even mentioned that some guests were upset about their group photos not being delivered, and that this was a blow to family morale. I laughed out loud, like actually laughed, because now it wasn't just about Haley being petty. It was a full-blown PR crisis in her world. She hadn't just lost her wedding photos. She'd lost the narrative. This wasn't just a wedding for her. It was her Super Bowl, her masterpiece, her curated, highly filtered fairy tale. And without those photos, she had no proof, no Pinterest album, no viral TikTok recap with soft piano music and a slow motion spin in her $2,000 dress. Just memories and bad iPhone lighting. And that's when it truly hit me. I had more power than I realized. I didn't respond to Jared's email right away. Instead, I went back to my messages with Jonah, the photographer. We'd exchanged a few casual texts since the refund, and he seemed relieved to be out of the whole thing. I texted him, hey, quick question. You still have the photos? He replied almost immediately. Yeah, I didn't delete anything. Why? Would you mind sending them to me? Just in case. There was a pause. You're not going to leak them or anything, right? I don't want drama. No leaks, I promised. Just need them in case she tries to spin this. That night, he sent me a Dropbox link. Over 1,200 raw and edited images. I spent hours scrolling through them. There were a few good ones, sure, but Jonah hadn't been lying. The whole thing looked awkward. Haley had micromanaged everything to the point of stiffness. In one photo, you could see her snapping at a bridesmaid for holding her bouquet too low. In another, she was adjusting her hair with a scowl mid-walk down the aisle. Jared looked half asleep in most of them. The guests looked bored. Honestly, if she'd just let Jonah do his job, she might have had the fairy tale she wanted. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I thought about responding to Jared's email, sending him a one-line reply. Tell your wife to apologize. But I didn't. I waited. And 3 days later, I got the text that changed everything. It was from Haley. You went too far. No greeting, no explanation, just those 4 words. I replied, you started it. She didn't respond. But 5 minutes later, the group chat blew up again. This time, it wasn't cryptic. It was public. And it was messy. Haley had posted a reel to her Instagram. A wedding recap pieced together with blurry photos, shaky video clips from other people's phones, and screenshots of people texting her, saying how beautiful the wedding had been. The caption read, when your photographer betrays you and your own brother sabotages the happiest day of your life, you get creative. Hashtag blessed, hashtag still beautiful. That was it. She'd made it public. The gloves were off. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to just sit in the shadows anymore. If she wanted a show, I was going to give her one. But I didn't reply to her post, not publicly, not privately. I knew Haley. She wanted to fight. She wanted people to see us squabbling to fuel her narrative that she was the wrong princess and I was the evil, bitter brother out to ruin her happily ever after. What she didn't expect was silence. Calm, intentional silence. While she scrambled to create a highlight reel out of borrowed footage and blurry smiles, I was busy organizing something else entirely. See, I'm not a social media person. I don't post often. My last Instagram post before all this was a dog I helped foster almost a year ago. But when you work in digital design like I do, you learn how to make things look clean, sharp, and most importantly, professional. You learn how to tell a story through visuals. And I had just been given over 1,200 untold stories in JPEG form. It started with one photo, a simple, candid shot of our mom and dad dancing together, laughing like they were 20 years younger. It was taken from the side, under the canopy lights, with a perfect warm glow. It wasn't posed, it wasn't stiff. It was real. Jonah had caught it during a lull in the reception, while Haley was arguing with the DJ about the playlist. I posted it with a short caption. Sometimes the best moments are the ones no one notices. It got maybe 20 likes. A few hearts from coworkers, a heart from Mom. Nothing huge, but Haley noticed. She DM'd me immediately. Where did you get that photo? I ignored it. A day later, I posted another one. This time, it was Nate and our cousin Emily reenacting their terrible middle school dance moves from a family reunion a decade ago. Everyone in the background was laughing, even Jared. It was chaotic and imperfect, and so much better than the wedding recap she was trying to cobble together from Snapchats. Another caption, genuine joy is better than 4 smiles. Still no public drama, but my phone buzzed nonstop with private messages from her. Seriously, stop. You don't have my permission to post those. You're trying to make me look bad. I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I emailed Jared back. I'm in possession of all the wedding photos with full copyright ownership since I was the original client. I wrote, I'm not deleting them, but I won't release them to Haley unless I receive a public acknowledgement of what actually happened. No need to make it dramatic, just the truth. 2 days went by. Crickets. Then I got a follow request from a burner account with 0 posts. The name was a random string of letters, but I knew exactly who it was. The first DM said, why are you doing this to me? I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to be cruel. Honestly, I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just done. Done carrying the weight of a relationship where I was never seen as an equal. Done playing the quiet sibling who absorbed every jab and fake apology. Done covering for her just to keep the peace while she played the victim. This wasn't revenge. It was withdrawal. And the best part? I didn't need to post anything cruel. The photos did all the work. One by one, I kept releasing the real moments. Not to hurt her, but to remind the rest of the family what that day actually looked like. Not the version filtered through Haley's rage spiral, but the one people genuinely remembered. Uncle Darren dancing badly in his socks. Grandma tearing up during the vows. Jared's niece dumping an entire piece of cake on her dress while everyone howled with laughter. And slowly, people started resharing them, tagging each other, commenting, "This one's my favorite. Can't believe we almost forgot this happened. That was such a good day. Haley had her wedding, but I had the memories." And that's when things really started to crack. One afternoon, Nate called me out of the blue. He's usually not the type to insert himself in a family drama. He's Switzerland, always neutral. But he sounded weirdly fired up. "Bro, you need to hear this," he said. "I was just at Mom's. Haley came by to talk, and she completely flipped out, like screaming, crying, saying you were blackmailing her with the photos." I groaned. "What did Mom say?" "She tried to calm her down, but Haley wouldn't stop. Then, get this, she said, you sabotaged her entire wedding and told Jonah not to take good pictures." I paused, genuinely confused. What does that even mean? That I asked him to take bad pictures? Nate laughed. "I know, it was ridiculous. But the wild part? Jared didn't back her up." "What?" I asked, completely shocked. "Yeah," Nate continued. "He just sat there. Then he finally said something like, maybe we need to stop blaming everyone else for things not going perfectly." I actually had to sit down. That was the first crack in the Haley/Jared facade I'd ever seen. He'd always been quiet, a go-along kind of guy. But now, maybe even he was tired of the drama. Still, I didn't push anything. I stayed quiet, let things settle, until the voicemail came. It was about a week later. I missed the call because I was at the grocery store and I almost deleted it without listening. But I hit play, and there she was. Haley, her voice trembling. Not angry this time. Not even dramatic. "Hey," she began a long pause. "I don't know if you'll ever forgive me or even talk to me again, but I guess I wanted to say, I'm sorry. I know you paid for the photographer. I know I was awful to you, and I guess I just wanted people to think I had everything together, and when I felt it slipping, I panicked. You didn't deserve that toast or any of it." Another pause. "I keep thinking about that moment during the vows when I looked out and saw you. You were the only one not taking a photo. You were just watching, like really watching, and that meant something to me. I'm sorry I ruined that. No requests, no demands, just that." It caught me completely off guard. For a second, I just stood there in the cereal aisle, holding a box of Raisin Bran and blinking hard. Maybe she meant it. Maybe she didn't. I waited 2 days before I called her back. Not to punish her, but because I needed that time to think, to feel, and most importantly, to decide if I was calling as a brother or as someone cleaning up someone else's mess. Again, I wasn't going to play that role anymore. If she wanted a real conversation, it had to be on new terms. "Mine," she answered on the first ring. I could hear her breath catch when she realized it was me. "Hey," she said softly. "I got your voicemail," I said. She didn't say anything at first, just let the silence hang like a heavy weight between us. "Thank you for calling me back," she finally said. "I didn't expect you to." "I wasn't going to," I replied. "But you sounded like someone I used to know." Another pause. "I've been thinking a lot," she said. "About everything. The toast, the photos, you. I made the day all about me. And I didn't care who I stepped on to make it happen." "That's accurate," I confirmed. She didn't defend herself. Didn't argue. Just took it. "I wish I could go back and do it over," she said. "You can't," I replied. "But you can stop pretending it was everyone else's fault." "I know," she whispered. "I've already apologized to Mom and Jared and the bridesmaids. I've got a long list." "Well, I'm not going to hand you a gold star for cleaning up your own mess," I said, my tone firm. "But I'll give you this. You didn't double down this time. That's progress." She let out a small, almost surprised laugh. "I deserve that." "You do." Then I added, "You know what hurt the most?" "What?" she asked. "It wasn't the toast. Not really. It was realizing that even after everything, after I paid for the photographer, after showing up for you, you still thought it was okay to humiliate me. Like I was nothing." "I know," she whispered. "I was trying to make people laugh, to feel clever, but I wasn't thinking about how it would make you feel. I thought I was the center of the universe that day. You always do. I'm trying to change that. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Good, because here's how this is going to go. I'm not releasing the photos. They're mine, and I'm keeping them. Her breath hitched. Okay, but I'll send you 5, I continued. She was quiet. Not the ones you posed for, I clarified. Not the ones where you're playing some perfect version of yourself. I'll send you 5 moments that were real. That actually meant something. Because if you're serious about changing, you can start by remembering what really mattered that day. It was a long pause. Thank you, she said finally. And this time, her voice sounded different. Smaller, less performative. Really, one last thing I added. This isn't me forgiving and forgetting. This is me putting a boundary in place. I'm not here to be your prop or your punching bag anymore. You want a brother? Be a sister. I could tell she was crying, but I didn't try to fill the silence for her. When we hung up, I felt not lighter exactly, but clearer. Like I had finally stepped out of the role I never auditioned for and walked into my own. That night, I emailed her the 5 photos. One of Mom and Dad dancing. One of Jared helping a flower girl tie her shoe. One of the entire family laughing during the speeches when someone accidentally knocked over a glass and a microphone cut out. One of her hugging Nate, her face genuinely soft for once. And one of me, taken from the side, sitting at my table, not smiling, not laughing, just watching the ceremony exactly like she'd said in the voicemail. I didn't caption them. I didn't explain, but she never asked for more. A week later, she posted one of the photos. No filter, no dramatic caption, just a quiet, "Thank you for this memory," with a single heart emoji. She never publicly explained the drama. She never tried to fix her image. And maybe that was the point. For once, Haley let go of the performance. As for me, I kept the rest of the photos backed up in a folder labeled proof. Not because I needed to hold it over her, but because sometimes knowing the truth is enough.